And we're recording.
Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to the Dark Souls podcast. Where today, and you're in for a good one today because we actually did some planning this time. So
And we're
hopefully there won't
actually
be a
playing Dark Souls for a change.
yes. So hopefully it'll go a lot more smooth than it has been other times. We're gonna cover a couple of topics from the recent Nintendo Direct to some hidden gems to some other things and stuff. So I hope you enjoy it. So
Yep.
to get started, do you want to start with the recent Nintendo Direct?
Like, for example, Crash Bandicoot going to the Switch. I
Yeah.
mean, that was a
Um, uh,
totally new one I didn't expect or ever see coming.
really, there's actually been rumors about it going on for a while, so I wasn't really surprised about it. But I am happy it is coming to other platforms, especially Switch. And as someone who has played it on the PlayStation 4, I would definitely recommend it. And this is coming from someone who hasn't played the original, so I don't have really a nostalgic connection to the original. Um, uh, Um, uh, Another one that I'm really interested in from the direct was the Square Enix title I almost called Project Octopath. It's Octopath Traveler. What are your I played a little bit of the demo and I really liked it. So I'm interested in seeing the rest of the game and stuff. What about you? What are your thoughts on that game so far?
I really played that one.
Fair
I've been too
enough.
busy trying to get through this one for all the YouTube videos.
Fair enough. Have you played any of the demo?
No, not that one.
Oh, oh, sorry. Okay. Um, um, let me think. Was it one thing that I was really surprised about was the fact that they made was it? Oh yeah, a Dark Souls amiibo. That was one thing I did not see coming at all, and I think it's kind of funny. I mean, I don't buy amiibos or whatnot at all, but like I still think that's kind of funny. And
Mm, I
but
don't
of
see
that,
why you would. Doesn't that kind of defeat the point of the game? But
what?
to try and make it easier.
Well, to be fair, I think all it does is this like does the praise the sun emote with apparently reckless abandon, so maybe that means you're immune or can do it as much as you want.
No, it probably means
So
you're just gonna get killed.
yeah. Alright.
Yeah, much like I'm probably getting at the moment. Yeah, I mean,
So
that's
there's
the
a
point of the Dark Souls podcast. You get to watch me probably get killed while trying to perfect the art of boss defeating.
you'll get to listen to me probably swear a bit as I repeatedly do the same boss over and over again on my end. I'm not playing Dark Souls on my end, I'm playing Cuphead's, which is exactly like Dark Souls though, so
Hey, shut your filthy mouth. It is not like Dark Souls. Dark
it's
Souls actually has deep lore to it.
yeah, but Cuphead has deep lore too. Like you ask that, you can talk to the coin guy, and he says that he hides all the coins around because he doesn't trust banks. That's deep lore, right? Right. There's also
If you say so.
devil. That's lore. It's exactly like Dark Souls. I'm telling you. I listen to IGN and game journalists a lot. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you totally know what you're talking about.
I
I mean,
do.
the devil runs a casino. Well, what the devil
Yeah.
would
See,
want to
that's
run
deep
an
lore.
addiction-consuming place. Wow, shocker.
Yeah, that's lore. Anyway, is there anything that you were either like some like maybe not excited about, but like interested or really shocked about from the recent Nintendo Direct, or was it all just like? Oh, I will say this: like all events, like whether it be E3 or Nintendo Directs and stuff, I always like. I don't really get excited for because I'm kind of like all it is just advertising, and the advertising could be lies and stuff. But like, I won't lie, I do look into them just so I know like, what's going on. But like, was there anything else that you were maybe that caught your interest or whatnot?
No, not really. I think we can move on.
Okay. I will just briefly say this: like, I am somewhat interested in the Luigi's Mansion remake for 3DS. I
Oh,
never,
yeah.
Yeah, I never played the original and stuff, so it'll be good for me. As for other people, though, I don't know how they'll feel. But for people like me who have never played the original and I'm really interested in it, it'll be good for me. Let me think. Is there anything I wanted to talk about? Not really. No. I guess I'm.
Oh, finally.
I will say this though. I'm glad that Smash was finally able to be confirmed because literally, if you go to anywhere talking about the Nintendo Switch, it's just people asking when Smash, when Smash. So I'm glad that's happening. As for thoughts on it, I have zero thoughts because all they revealed was a logo. I'm assuming you feel the same way.
Kind of like Metroid. All they revealed was a logo.
Yeah, it's like I do understand like for like why people who are like really invested into it and like really want it and stuff and like why they're excited for it, but like for people like me and stuff who are very skeptical about things and need to see more before they make up their mind, I'm just sort of like, that's cool, but what else, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
It's just the truth of everything. Someone who's a casual observer cannot understand the passion of someone who's really invested.
Yeah, but like I do understand at some level because I have played a lot of Smash Brothers in the past. So, but like, it's like, but like I still need to know more before I'm like really excited. Same for everything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Always be wary of a trailer, especially when there isn't a trailer.
Yeah. So but speaking of like Crash Bandicoot coming to Nintendo Switch and other platforms, JTech TV is as you put it so eloquently in your video, is on suicide watch. um so you know, I have to say this is a little off topic. Well, no, it's not off topic, but like this may sound like a weird transition, but like I think this is the perfect place to bring this up. I really do hate people like JTech TV who are seemingly invested in not necessarily the games, but like a brand. Like I never understood how they're like, why are you interested in the brand? Like I used to love a lot of BioWare games, but like I'm not really like jumping out of the gates to support them anymore now that they're kind of going downhill. It's like if all PlayStation 4 somehow miraculously exploded tomorrow, would JTech TV somehow defend that?
No, maybe he would.
That's a sad thing. I really don't know anymore. Like, he might actually. That's the scary part. Although he might not. He might just say that's bad. But like, Sony's working on it, guys.
I might
Overall,
say, see, Sony knows how to get rid of the surplus population.
that'd be a way to say something's good. Yeah, it's like Sony probably planned it on purpose so they could get rid of the undesirables in the world. Like, it's like, oh my god, this is a really dark joke, but it's like defending 9/11 by saying they're just trying to get rid of like the bad people or whatnot, or like the thousands of people who died in that deserve to die. And oh my god, that is a lot more darker than I originally thought it would be.
It was like, well, you'd have to be a serious piece of shit to really believe that.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, I'm back in the same place I was before, so and I immediately died. Never mind. Okay, so
well, I haven't died yet, but I suspect that might change.
So also, one thing for the console peasants. Stop bragging about big AAA Sony exclusives, okay? Want to brag about your console games, brag about the games that are actually good, like Persona 5 or the Yakuza series or any of those other games. Brag about those if you're going to brag. Preferably, I would rather you not brag, period, because I think bragging about having a game that someone doesn't have is really petty and childish. But if you're going to beg, or like, not beg, oh my god, I'm turning to JTech. If you're going to brag, at least brag about the ones that deserve to be bragged about. That advice is free.
Which would you say deserves to be bragged about?
Well, I don't think anything should be bragged about because I think bragging about a game that someone else has that they don't, as I just said, is petty and stuff. But if I were to say like what game is what are some games that are on the PlayStation 4 that I think are really worthy. I mentioned Persona 5. I really freaking love that game. Could
Yeah.
play it forever. I don't want to go into too much wide due to spoilers, but like, if you haven't played it, and you really should. It's pretty freaking awesome. Despite the frame rate problems, I actually really enjoyed The Last Guardian. Like I didn't find handling
Yeah, that's one I need to play at some point.
yeah. A lot of people like had problems with Trico and stuff. I personally didn't have that much issue with him. I once in a while had a problem with him, but I really didn't find it that much. But like if someone else did, then I can understand why. I will admit, if like he was like completely frustrating, then it probably would have liked it a lot less. But like for me, I didn't have only he was only annoying a handful of times and stuff, and thus like I didn't really mind it that much and stuff. But like anyway, I felt that was pretty magical and stuff, and like for me, what's some other games I feel are great? Freaking love Yakuza 0. I think Yakuza 0 is a pretty terrific game. It's one of the few Japanese games. Also, one other interesting about Yakuza 0 is it's one of the few Japanese games that doesn't really use an anime aesthetic, but more so goes for a realistic sort of aesthetic, like Asian people look like Asian people. I know that sounds
Not really.
well, and like it's not a huge deal, but like it's actually kind of cool and stuff. And like I don't have anything against the anime aesthetic personally, but like it's cool to have a game that's like goes for a more realistic approach, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple
games
games.
are everywhere.
Yeah. Anyway, those are a couple like games I guess are worth bragging about.
These things don't respawn.
Me too.
Yeah, 'cause I'm gonna die. Damn it! I just died.
Shit. At least you're not in Bloodborne.
Mm-hmm.
I only got past one boss. To be fair, though, it's been a while since I played Bloodborne. Oh yeah, Bloodborne's another good one, but like then again, there is a frame rate issue.
I think they've mostly fixed that now. I don't think I saw it when I played it.
Yeah. Anyway, I have to say, from what I've seen of the Souls games, I think, like at least aesthetically, I'm gonna like Bloodborne the most because I don't know why. I'm a big fan of like the what's it called, H.P. Lovecraft sort of aesthetic and like sort of way. So I think aesthetically, I mean, like I've only played a little bit of Bloodborne, but like I've got past the first boss, a couple bosses, so I feel like at least have a decent understanding of the game. And like I feel,
no, it gets weirder. It gets a lot weirder.
Sure it will. I look forward to eventually getting back into it and beating it. So anyway, so speaking of talking of other games, this is probably a perfect segue. Do you want to talk about some games that we consider hidden gems?
Hidden gems everyone should consider?
Yeah. Do you want to start, and I'll say mine then afterwards?
Well, Close Your Eyes would definitely be one.
What is that one about?
But that one's a horror game. The difficult thing is it's kind of difficult to explain.
Okay, I'll be sure to look
Basically,
into it.
you play a death row inmate who escapes death. Well, at least he escapes being hanged. And then he's put on this weird contestant show by some supernatural being called the Host.
So it's like...
Yeah, and
no, that's not like that at all. Never mind.
It's incredibly weird. It's one of those games you really have to play to figure out, wait, what the hell am I playing?
Yeah, that definitely sounds very interesting. I'll definitely look into it.
And luckily, it's free, so even more reason to like it. Oh, come on, these things respawn! That's so not fair, game. Even for you, Dark Souls, that's not fair.
You didn't know Dark Souls did that? Dark Souls always respawns its enemy.
No, not always. The Black Knights don't respawn.
Fair enough. I should act like an expert. All I've played is Bloodborne. Oh yeah, speaking of which, speaking of Souls games, did you hear the news that apparently the Demon Souls servers recently shut down?
Yeah.
Kind of sad,
but then again, you can still emulate the game.
Yeah, that and added like apparently the servers are on for like 9 years, so like it's probably on much longer than the developers initially imagined. So that alone is still an impressive feat.
Wait, remember they never expected it to be a great hit success.
let
Finally, a
alone
game
last.
that's actually hard.
Yeah. Wait, you're saying they didn't expect the game to be actually hard?
Well, no, I don't think people expected it. I think that's why it was popular.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Anyway, back on topic. Was there any other games like? Should I take a turn at it, or do you want to say another game you consider a hidden gem?
Take your turn at it.
Okay, I'm one game that it was somewhat popular, but like I still want to talk about it because it's actually getting a is actually getting a remake soon. Is called Catherine. It's a game by Atlas.
Oh, that one.
Yeah. Like to be fair, well, like I said, it was decently popular and obviously popular enough to get a remake. But like, still want to talk about it because like I see, like I come across a lot of people all the time who like don't know about it, and I think and like end up loving it and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
for those of you who don't know, Catherine is pretty much about is a game about a man named Vincent, who is sort of like at a point in his life, who's like in his late 20s, early 30s, and at a point in his life where he really doesn't know, where he has a girlfriend, but like he's not entirely happy with the relationship, and he feels like kind of jaded, and like he's kind of doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, whether he wants to have a life of order or a life of chaos and like freedom, and like long story short, he ends up cheating on his girlfriend with another girl also named Catherine, and it's just like really, and there's also every night, Vincent has weird nightmares where he has to climb steps and like solve puzzles and whatnot, and overall it's like a really interesting game with a few interesting twists in it, and like it's a pretty great game. Like all like the puzzles, like a lot of the puzzles like got me scratched, like were a lot of the puzzles can be pretty easy, but some of them like were pretty like so hard that I actually had to look up a guide on how to do it. So like there's and like they're oddly, and the puzzles in the game are oddly addicting, and like there's just a lot of little details and like cool things and stuff. And like there's actually 6 endings to the game that you can get that are all pretty different and unique. And it's just overall a great game that I definitely recommend. And I'm interested to see what the remake will be like. I don't know if I'm like I'm not like 100% sold on the remake yet, but like because I'll have to see. I mean, to be fair though, I think from what I understand, the remake will allow you to play the original version and stuff. But like
So which ending is your favorite ending? I'm curious.
I haven't seen all of the endings. I've seen most of them, but like based like how out of curiosity, have you played or at least do you know about Catherine a bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I guess
The
I'll
true
say it.
chaos ending is the best one for me.
Um, I do like the quote unquote good ending where he's married to Catherine. That's what I'm gonna call him. I'm gonna call them Catherine and Theathrine. Hope that's not too confusing. But believe it or not, I think my favorite ending is actually the ending where he goes to space. Just because like that's such an unexpected plot twist, and like it's kind of funny and cool to me.
You
And
like the who needs women ending, pretty much.
yeah, it's pretty much fuck you, woman. It's pretty much just true freedom and stuff.
Screw you and your drama.
However, I do like however, I do have a soft spot for like the good ending where he marries the Catherine, because it's just because it has a lot of closure to it and it just kind of feels empowering. Like yeah, he became mature and stuff, but in terms of like but like in terms of like my favorite, I would say the space one. So another game also made by the same company, Atlas, is Persona 4 Golden, which is sort of a remake of Persona 4 that came out for the PlayStation 2. It's mostly the same game, but they add a bunch of little things in that really kind of makes the game better. Like they add in a couple new events to the game. Like, oh yeah, I should probably say what it's about. Not everyone knows what Persona 4 is about. So long story short, Persona 4 is basically about a group of teens who are trying to solve a murder in their hometown. So pretty much Scooby-Doo simulator. But there's a bunch of interesting twists and turns along the way, and it's a really cool game. And like in the game, I gotta say saying I'm sorry. In the game, there's a lot of like events that happen and stuff, and like the town really, like the town that you're in really changes as it goes through the year. Like first you start out in like late winter, and then it goes to spring and whatnot, and like there's a lot of cool stuff to it. And Persona 4 Golden, which is the version I'm recommending, which you can get either on Vita or you can emulate it, adds a whole bunch of new things that I feel like are mostly for the better. That some of them I'd go into too long, or to take too long to go into, or take a while to explain. But like
this is not fair.
No, it is not fair, but it is true. What? That was a shitty joke. Please pretend I ever said that. Anyway, and there is one thing that adds that is sort of annoying. It adds one character named Marie, who is pretty much just a tsundere, or for those who don't know the term, is pretty much just the type of person who's like in love with you but pretends not to be in love with you, is pretty much her whole character. Like some stuff that happened around her, or some events that happened because of her are kind of interesting, but her character herself is kind of boring. It kind of extends to that. That's kind of annoying, but other than that, it's pretty great, and I definitely recommend it. And so do you want to take a turn now for another underrated game, or a game that doesn't get a lot of attention?
Well, I would say Serena would be a good one, or is it Serena? I don't know. I'm really terrible at pronouncing names. Anyway, essentially, it's more a version of Gone Home, but if it was done right. It was a horror game.
What happens in it?
Well, I can't say too much. I mean, that spoils too much of the twists in it.
Is it a walking... Never mind, I'm joking. So, like, is it like a walking simulator-like game, or...
Yeah, you do first person, you walk a lot, you inspect the house, and find out what's gone on, but it's Gone Home done right. It's actually worth $20.
Okay,
I mean, Gone Home was just disappointing to me. And the twist, yeah, by the way, your sister's a lesbian, and she ran away. That's it. What else? I mean, is she a serial killer? Did she kill everyone in the house? Wait, she's a lesbian, she ran off, that's it? That's the ending? I paid $20 for this game.
I haven't played Gone Home, but like
well, there you go. That's the ending. Don't bother playing it.
I already knew about the spoilers because I looked it up. But like I do like the idea behind it in terms of like environmental storytelling and whatnot. And that's what it tries to do.
Then play Serena. That's way better.
Yeah. My problem with that though is with Gone Home is that there's a lot of other games, in my opinion, that do environmental storytelling as well as additional other elements and kind of do it better. Whereas with Gone Home, from what I understand, it's just once you know the story, there's nothing else and whatnot. Like, trying to think of what's the great...
Well,
what's
with
another
Serena,
great game?
though, once you understand the story, you want to go back and play it again, see everything you missed.
Yeah.
That was actually leading you up to the big revelation at the end, which I won't spoil because it would ruin it for you. You should play it yourself.
So I'll definitely look into it. Trying to think of like what's a good I guess the series has sort of gone to shit recently, but like some of the Fallout games I feel like have some good environmental storytelling and whatnot in terms of like how like you piece together what happened and what went on like via your environment and stuff. Yeah. Like, I mean, to be fair, Fallout 4 was pretty mediocre, but like I think, but like Fallout New Vegas, I think we did a really good job of that, and parts of Fallout 3 did a decent job of that as well. Yeah, like my problem as someone like who hasn't played Gone Home, but like as from what I've heard of it, it just sort of sounds like once I beat it, like what's the point and stuff.
And you paid $20 from what I understand, that was way too much.
What?
And you paid $20 for it.
Yeah, maybe if it was like $5 or something, the stinging would be, people would be a lot less pissed. But like the amount they were asking for, it's kind of a bit much, you know. Anyway, but anyway, okay. Should I say one more game and stuff, or do you want to say one more game? So, but like anyway, like the 2 games you recommended so far sound really interesting. I look forward to.
Yeah, but it's just the 3rd game. I only realized this now. That if I tell you what it's about, that kind of spoils the whole experience.
Okay. Just tell me the name and I'll look it up.
Dr. Langeskov, the Tiger, and the Terribly, Terribly Cursed Emerald. Seriously, that's the name.
Okay, okay. You'll have to remind me that later because that's a little bit of a mouthful of a title.
Yeah, I know, but that's seriously the name. I'm not trying to troll you. That's the actual name of the game.
Well, it's not interesting. It's an interesting name. It's certainly memorable.
Well, yeah, they certainly got that right.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of one other game that I consider hidden gem. What is one more game? I know, Indigo Prophecy. I'm kidding.
What? Indigo Prophecy?
It was a joke.
Well, I guess in some ways it could be considered genius. I mean, it ripped off the Matrix in some parts.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, if you haven't done it already, you should definitely replay. Next time you play a David Cage game, like bring up something called the David Cage bingo board. You can find it easily on Google Images, and it has a bunch of things that are like once you start putting like dots on the board, you realize, oh my god, David Cage games are super similar. Like some of them include Asshole Army Guys, The Police Don't Work That Way, Strong Independent Woman Saved by a Man, or like Almost Raped. There's like so many like common elements in a bunch of David Cage games that once you start playing David Cage bingo, you'll like never go back. Mm-hmm. That's kind of why I kind of want to get Detroit Become Human day one, just so I can play David Cage bingo and see how quick it takes for me to get bingo. I'm kind of half tempted about to do that.
David Cage bingo. Okay.
It's surprisingly kind of fun. But like anyway, I'm trying to think. For all seriousness, what is my real final underrated game? What would I consider underrated? I can't really think of a third one that's really
no one's ever really heard of. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I could say one that I feel is pretty well known but doesn't get, I feel, as much attention as it deserves. But like at the same time I'll just say it. I'll talk about Fallout New Vegas and stuff, which is a pretty well-known game, and I've sort of waxed on and on about, but I can't think of another third one. And I guess it's stuff to the people who were disappointed for Fallout 4 and stuff, which were probably most of everyone. I would highly recommend playing this one. It's like the best Bethesda era. Well, to be fair, it wasn't made by Bethesda; it was just produced by it. But you know what I mean. The best, like one of the best, probably in my opinion, the best Fallout game made.
Oh.
And there's while the gunplay is a little iffy at times and stuff, like the story, the characters, the world, like everything about it is so great, and you find yourself. Yeah, like a lot of the characters are memorable. Pretty much all the factions are memorable. It's a super great game, and I love it. So check it out. I feel kind of bad because my hidden gems weren't like the best hidden gems ever, like not nearly as good as yours. But like I couldn't think of things that are pretty unknown, but I decided to pick games that are somewhat known, but not as known as I think they should be.
Well, that's what we can mean by hidden gems.
Yeah.
It is a lot more credit than it got.
Yeah.
I mean, Demon's Souls was arguably one of those games.
Oh, yeah.
We wouldn't have Dark Souls without it, and people wouldn't be able to watching Glee as I die over and over again.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have thought of our amazing title either. If anyone's, for the record, if anyone's angry or like cringing at the title of our podcast, you can put all your blame on me. So don't blame DolphinVi, blame PoppaG.
He saw that I was attacking so much in Dark Souls bosses that he named that podcast that way.
I was actually more there's that, but I was also inspired by the fact that everything at the time was being called the Dark Souls of or whatnot, everything. So I decided
even games that predate Dark Souls are now the Dark Souls of. God's sake, seriously.
The dumbest
even the
one,
game you're making, Cup Souls. No, it's not Cup Souls.
The dumbest one in my opinion was Crash Bandicoot, when like some review said there's no avoiding it. Crash Bandicoot has become Dark Souls. And like
it was always that way, dumbass. I don't know why you think that.
It's like how can you say Crash Bandicoot has become Dark Souls when it's for the most part a 1-to-1 remake of a game that was made over a decade ago?
That's just the state of games journalists today. No standards.
It's not so much that. It's just like that. Like everyone knows Dark Souls is hard and stuff, but like it's like everyone only remembers from Dark Souls that it's hard and stuff, and thus they feel like every time they come across something slightly hard, they need to call it the Dark Souls of.
I mean, come on, there's far more to Dark Souls than just being hard.
Yeah.
There's deep lore as well.
Yeah, there is the lore, despite with some... Like, I came across a person who was, like, trying to argue with me that Dark Souls has no story or has no lore and stuff, and I'm like, okay, you make the argument that Dark Souls has no story, but it very definitely has lore, and I don't think you can argue about that.
Yeah, of course Dark Souls is a story.
Yeah.
It's just you have to look for it. It doesn't tell it to you.
And, like, you could argue, and, like, of course the argument can be made, like, yeah, but the story and lore isn't the main appeal of it. That is true, but, like, there are definitely a lot of people who are into the lore. Like, there's whole channels dedicated to discussing the lore of Dark Souls.
That's why I've learned that you should not reignite the first flame.
Why did you learn that? Oh, I see what you're saying. I see, getcha.
Yeah, because the Lord Gwyn wanted to enslave humanity, and by doing that, you are basically saying humanity should be the god's bitch.
I do find it interesting how, like, Dark Souls and, like, the Souls-like games sort of tell a story, how they do it through, like, their environments and also through, like, item descriptions and whatnot. I really like that. It'd be interesting to see, like, more games in the future do that. Speaking of which, the director and stuff of Dark Souls, something Miyazaki, I forget his full name, but apparently, he was actually sort of inspired by games like Eco and Shadow of the Colossus because of their storytelling. They said he wanted to make games with similar sorts of storytelling, where it's like not in your face, but like something you can like really find through discovery and whatnot. And I find that pretty interesting.
There might have also been another reason that he just made stuff up as he did everything.
It's possible, yeah.
And he even admitted, yeah, I made some stuff up.
Yeah. But, like, either way, though, it's a good game, so, like, and besides, sometimes making stuff on the spot works out. Like, sometimes it doesn't. So anyway, onto the one other topic I just thought of. I have a question for you, DolphinVi, and that is, are you annoyed that a lot of games are trying to go? Oh, you know what? No, yeah, let's talk about this. What are your thoughts on the fact that a lot of AAA games almost always go through for the photorealistic cinematic look?
Well, I don't mind it. The thing I mind is at the expense of what? Because
Yeah,
if you're spending all the time in the big photorealistic cinematics, okay, but what are you ignoring in favor of that?
Yeah, I think I do agree with that. It's just, I don't know, on some level I'm kind of annoyed by it, just because like, believe it or not, I do like pretty games, and I do like photorealism to some degree, but I'm just kind of annoyed how every AAA game feels the need to have that and stuff, you know?
I think the bad thing is they try to copy Apple, but they don't get the same result. And I know that sounds a bit of an awkward segue, but hear me out. Apple products, they perform good, you know, depending on what you want them for, and they do look good. So I think it's games they try to look good, but they don't really stick to the performance part.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, if you're gonna copy Apple, at least try to do it right. Make games look good and perform good.
Yeah. Look, I think, yeah, I do agree. And I think the other annoying element is that I feel like some games are trying to be more like films and less like games. Like, the two that come to mind always and stuff, even though I haven't played either of these, and so it might be a little unfair, but like... Oh, yeah, Fahrenheit's like that to some degree, but like, to be fair, it is like sort of like a point-and-click adventure game, but like...
It says in the menu, start movie.
Yeah, that is true. I'll get to those in a minute, but first I want to talk about something a little more topical, that is the two games that annoy me the most and stuff with like how much they want to be sort of film-like, even though I haven't played either of them, so might be a little unfair, is sort of like The Order 1886 and the new God of War, which, to be fair, hasn't come out yet, but like everything from the trailers and stuff have been giving me these impressions of like we're
No
telling
jump
you
button optional bosses.
that, and also just hey, we're telling this super unique, super telling this so great emotional story and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but what about the gameplay? Oh, it says shallow as a dick. Oh, wait, what did I just say?
You're trying to
That
be
just
The Last of Us with no depth to it.
yeah. But to be fair, Last of Us would have a super amount of depth, but like to me, like the way I describe The Last of Us is that it's simple but like effective at what it does and stuff, and like it's simple but satisfying and stuff. Like at least to me and stuff. But like the problem came is when every other game wanted to be exactly like The Last of Us, and then it started to lose some of its charm. I actually do like The Last of Us. I just don't think it's like the best game ever, like a lot of other people say.
Okay.
But anyway, like one thing that particularly annoyed me about the Order 1886 is sort of like how in marketing and editing, like in an interview they said when they talked about they were asked in an interview, the creators, what is the most important to you from like writing, gameplay, and visual. They said in an interview that writing and visuals I think are our most important things. As for gameplay, well, we like games, we play games, but our main focus is for it to this thing is to be more movie like, more cinematic, and really push the medium with writing. And all I can think is, if you want to make something more cinematic, why don't you make a freaking movie instead? It's like I
Because
don't mind
movies
video
are
games having.
expensive.
I don't have any problem with like video games having cinematic elements to them and whatnot. It's just like it's everything I've heard about the Order 1886 sounds like it'd probably be my most hated game ever because apparently it has long unskippable cutscenes, really long walking segments, super shallow gameplay, and a story that isn't that good. And sorry, taking a sip. And that annoys me and stuff because it's like it's just sort of like just it's really hard to put into words why it's so frustrating to me. I guess it's just more so that it's frustrating because I feel like a lot of AAA game companies don't realize that I feel like a lot of like those big I promise. I feel like a lot of big game developers like that and when they make games like God of War or what was the other game called? Oh yeah, Order 1886. I feel like a lot of them are trying to say like, look guys, games can be art and stuff. We're proving it by making this game. And
Do
I'm
you
like,
not
you
already
don't have
prove
to
that?
you don't need to prove games are art, guys. Like anyone with half a brain and isn't my father already knows that knew about that ages ago. I
Well, to
mean,
change that and not offend your dad, let's say anyone who has a brain is Anita Sarkeesian. Forget that out ages ago.
well, long story short, but like me and my father, I constantly have debates with my father. Like he staunchly believes that video games aren't art and can't be art, and I've debated with him several times and gave him several examples on no, this is how it's art, this is how it's art, and ultimately it always just ends in with him just saying, "Well, made a good point, but I just don't agree," and it just ends like that. And so for the most part, I've given up on it and convincing him. But like every once in a while, I'll like just like try again, because I'm stubborn like that.
Well, there's plenty you can show him to convince him otherwise.
Yeah. Um. That's true. But like anyway. Um. I guess one also annoying thing is like sometimes the writing in some of these games that are trying to be like, look how cinematic you are, look how much we're proving games are art, are kind of bad. Like as I've
Well,
hinted at
that's
in
the
the past.
point. You're going cinematic at the expense of what?
Yeah,
What are you putting
I
out?
guess so, like also like one like to give one example, like one that we've talked about a lot in the past is David Cage. I've made it no secret in the past that I don't think David Cage is a very good writer, and is a pretty bad writer in my opinion. And the funny thing is this is somewhat topical. I want to bring this up. when I saw the Detroit Become Human trailer, where it pretty much said that it was going to feature child abuse, a lot of people were arguing like about censorship and whatnot. But like what I was thinking at that time was, oh God, no. And I thought that not because they're going to cover some sort of a taboo subject, but because out of literally all the people in the world that I would consider that would cover a subject like as deep as that in a tasteful and good manner, the last person I would pick is David Cage, because like no offense, but like please be honest, would you trust the man who wrote Indigo Prophecy to write like a child abuse scene in a respectful way? Would you? And yes, I finally beat the boss.
Well, I guess he did write a child being killed scene pretty well.
I guess so, yeah. I guess so. Like maybe I'm being too hard on him and whatnot, but
it's just all my Rain was pretty good about that. That was a pretty heavy scene.
Yeah. To be fair, Heavy Rain did it somewhat decently and stuff. However, there was one other thing that happened in that scene that I think borderline kind of ruined it. But like that's a whole other discussion for another day.
It was in the whole section where the kid died. There was even a "Keep Kids Off the Road" sign there, and I thought that was a nice touch. Yeah. In a kind of morbid way.
Like, here's the thing with David Cage. There's moments in David Cage's writing and moments in like this game where I think that's kind of clever, that's kind of cool, or that's a cool bit of foreshadowing. But like ultimately, like when it comes down to the big picture, it's just I feel like he just screws up big time. And I couldn't help but think, and like I just like maybe it is being unfair to him because he did write a child death scene decently, but I couldn't help but think when I saw the child abuse scene in the Detroit Become Human trailer, I couldn't think, oh no, you couldn't have possibly picked a worse writer to cover such a taboo subject matter. Could you, Sony? maybe it'll be reasonable and stuff, but like
okay, just cut this. I need to pause the conversation here. I need to go to the bathroom again.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry then, I guess we can continue that one. Okay, just moan everyone, you'll be staring at a still screen.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah. And I just wanted to make this clear. I don't want to sound like an SJW where I'm like, you have to portray subject matters in a certain way or whatnot. It's just that from what I can tell from the trailer, it seems like he's going to take this pretty seriously and stuff. And it's like, a lot of David Cage's work, save for some moments, are kind of schlocky and are like kind of like if there were movies, they'd be low grade, like schlock fests. So I can't like help but like instinctively think when you get where I'm coming from to a degree.
You're worried he's not going to do it well.
Yeah, and I'm not saying he shouldn't cover like this matter or whatnot. It's just I couldn't help but like be at least a little bit like, oh no, when I heard it was happening. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyway, though, think I'm being too hard on David Cage, or like, do you think he's like a phenomenal writer, or what do you think? Thoughts on him?
He gets some things good, but
yeah,
and
like I said, there are.
Off.
It's like
he's kind of a hit and miss guy. That one.
Yeah, it's like Heavy Rain. From what I've played, is probably his best game, but it's not a game I would really call good in a way, because like. The problem with Heavy Rain is, like, if you think about some scenes for even a couple minutes, like, they kind of start to fall apart. Like, take the scene where Jason died. Like, overall, it's a decent scene, and stuff, and I think he's handled pretty well. But like, what I have to ask is, why did Jason just walk? Why did Jason, like, you don't understand Jason walking away, but why did Jason walk all the way away from his father, down the escalator, and all the way across the street? Why like, what possessed him to do that? And like, why would you do that?
Why would a child do any of the normal stupid things they do?
Fair enough. There's also the case of with Scott Shelby, who, spoiler alert, is the origami killer of the game. Like, there's a bunch of moments in the game where he talks in his mind. It's like, I gotta find the origami killer or whatnot. Yet he's the origami killer. So like, why would he be asking, like, why would he be asking where's the origami killer when he himself knows he's the origami killer?
Well, that's the genius of Scott Shelby. All the things he thinks and all the things he says have double meanings. I want to find the origami killer. I want to find the guy who's been copying me.
Maybe. I'll have to replay Heavy Rain at one point to see if it remains consistent. There is well, what else? What are some other scenes that bothered me in Heavy Rain? Because like, I will, and to be fair, I will talk about some scenes I actually liked in Heavy Rain in a minute, so I won't be completely unfair to David Cage. I just want to get the negative out of the way, you know.
Yeah. And now that I'm here, I can talk about something that bothers me in Dark Souls.
Okay.
I'm fighting winged demons, and I can push them off the ledge to kill them. How does that work?
Good question.
I mean, did you drop the ball there, developers, or did you just get a bit lazy?
I said, like, anyway, another, like, scene, like, I didn't really like. What was another scene I really didn't like? I'm trying to remember the scene. What was it called? I had it in my head just 5 seconds ago, and now I'm forgetting it. What was it? What's his name? Okay, you talk about Dark Souls, so I try to remember it. What was it?
Okay. In Dark Souls, it's really, really hard. There's lots of lore, and you have to somehow fight against overwhelming odds, because that's the point in the story.
Okay, I remembered what it was. Again, I'm not an SJW and stuff, but like some of the scenes with Madison felt kind of like very awkward in a way. Like I feel like, oh yeah, I know what it is. No.
Damn.
Here's a scene. Here's something that felt really awkward to me. I feel like the whole
sex
subplot, like not just the sex scene is really weird and awkward, but also the whole subplot with Madison having insomnia just kind of goes knows where. It feels just really kind of awkward. To be fair, that might be somewhat because of cut content or like removed DLC, because apparently at one point they were planning some DLC where Madison was in Afghanistan, in like the war-torn streets of Afghanistan or something. Yeah, apparently they were planning to do a DLC where Madison was in the war-torn streets of Afghanistan or whatnot, and that's what caused her insomnia. But they never got around to it for some reason. And apparently the elements from that DLC got implemented into Beyond Two Souls or something. But like, as is, I just sort of feel like the Madison insomnia subplot is kind of pointless and goes nowhere. Like, it's just brought up briefly and then like kind of almost immediately dropped, and it's only brought up again in an ending which is completely determined on player choice.
Yeah.
So it's like, overall it's kind of weird. And also like there's a scene that like, and like the set scene is like you mentioned earlier, was like super awkward and like really weird. But like anyway, as for some scenes I did like, there's actually a couple scenes I did like I do like how in the game it really kind of does feel like your choices matter to a degree, where it's like who ends up at the end is determined over certain things and whatnot, and then like how you actually can like get arrested or whatnot, for example, and Ethan will be taken out of the game, period. And there's a bunch of other little things that I think are really cool. What about you? What are some scenes that you really liked and disliked in Heavy Rain, out of curiosity?
I think you mostly list them all.
Okay. In that case,
actually, the end battle I do like that one.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Now it depends.
I will say the child acting I feel in Heavy Rain. No offense to the kids, I'm sure they're great and trying their best, but I feel the child acting is really not good in it. Like the acting overall is very awkward in Heavy Rain, but like the child actors I feel like are kind of the worst, because especially in the flashback scene with Scott Shelby, like there's this kid who's obviously trying to do a Brooklyn accent, but it's super obvious that he's French, and it was just like really hard for me to listen to, and it was impossible for me to take that. It's very hard for me to take that seriously.
There's only so much you can do with child actors. That's why people try not to use them.
Fair enough, but like there are some like child actors who can do a pretty great job. Like child actors from Stranger Things are pretty great, to be fair. But then again, like they're just one out of a couple out of like many others. Anyway, this may sound fun. Now, out of curiosity, out of the games you've seen or played of David Cage, what do you think is his worst? Because my answer might surprise you.
I would say Fahrenheit Indigo Prophecy so far. I mean, I did an entire review out of it. Why it sucked. I said it jumped the shark multiple times, if you recall.
For me though, it's gonna surprise you, but like for me, it's not actually Indigo Prophecy. For me, it's kind of Beyond Two Souls.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, because mostly Beyond Two Souls is just kind of like Indigo Prophecy. At least is kind of amusing and how it jumps the shark and how crazy it gets. With Beyond Two Souls, it's mostly just kind of boring. Like there are some moments where there's definitely moments where it's pretty funny, and there's definitely interesting ideas and stuff. But like it's kind of
Fahrenheit. It's supposed to be serious, but I just can't take it seriously.
Yeah, and like with Beyond Two Souls, it's kind of boring most of the time. Like there's a lot of just boring stuff that happens, and it's just sort of like there are a couple of things that happen that are really funny in it, and there are some stupid scenes, but like most of it is kind of undercut by a lot of like really boring moments, and the fact that you can actually beat large fighting sections by just putting down the controller. Oh, that's pretty annoying.
And the fact I guess you could even say how technically it's not a very good feminist game because the main girl character doesn't do much.
Yeah, it's like I think if I were to pick
spirit.
Yeah, if you were to pick,
we're sounding like feminist frequency now, aren't we?
Yeah, I know, but like, not to sound like an SJW, but if I were to pick a video game that was like very either anti-women or like did not portray women well, I could have Grand Theft Auto 5. But after that, I'd probably pick a game like Beyond Two Souls because honestly, the character Jody is like honestly, just the fact that you can put your controller down and just fuck him in most fights speaks for itself. But like the character, like Jody as a character, is pretty bland and not really memorable. I mean, Ellen Page does her best. Like Ellen Page is a really great actress and stuff. I'm not like a big fan of her, but I do think Ellen Page is a good actress and does her best considering. But it's like the character she's sort of given is just kind of boring and uninteresting, and she doesn't really grow in a lot of ways. I guess she does grow in a few interesting ways, but like most of the ways, most of the things she does.
She's a very passive character. She doesn't do a whole lot. It's all the spirit Aiden that does everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like she doesn't do much herself. Most of the stuff that she's important for, and the reason why everyone wants her so much, is all because of her spirit, her brother Aiden, which is the plot twist revealed at the end of the game.
Not surprising.
Yeah, this is really it's not that surprising a twist, and like, and
why
because
else would the spirit be so attached to her?
Yeah, and because of that, she just sort of becomes like this passive character who like it's really hard to say. I really don't know how you can say like she's a strong, independent character when like literally the ghost does pretty much everything for her, at least all the major stuff.
She's as passive as Jin Urso, pretty much.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, that was a really bad movie. I don't know why people like that
passive
one.
As what? What did you say? What movie?
Rogue One.
Okay.
The character Jin Urso is completely bland and boring as well.
She is pretty boring, but and stuff. But I don't like. I'm not saying she's a good character, but I'd argue she's at least kind of better than I don't know. I'd argue she's at least a little bit better than Jodie from Souls, at least in terms of that she actually does things and doesn't feel like a Mary Sue, where Jodie is just sort of
unlike Rey, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, we should probably try to stay away from that territory. We'll completely derail this podcast, shouldn't we?
I'll have to. I really do wonder, like a piece.
She's a Mary Sue, though. Let's get that out of the way.
Yeah, but I'm trying to say, I know this sounds like a really low bar, but I think she's better than Rey and Jodie because she's not quite a Mary Sue. I somewhat remember her, as opposed to Jodie, where it's like if it wasn't for the fact that she was in a David Cage game, I'd never remember her. Like literally, the only reason I even remember the because once she's played by Ellen Page, who I think is a legit good actress, and that's a David Cage game. It's pretty hard for me to forget David Cage games. Speaking of which, though, I will have to rewatch Rogue One at one point or another to see if it's as bad as everyone else says, because I only saw it like once when it first came out, and like I remember feeling kind of like mixed about it. So I'll have to see if my opinions have changed. Might be interesting. Either way, though, this is for the record. I'm not saying like you know what I mean, right? You have you ever done that where you want to rewatch something to see if like your opinions have changed or whatnot?
Yeah.
Anyway, back to David Cage. Like the most annoying aspect for David Cage for me overall is I think he does have good ideas, and I would like the only game the game I know the least about is the not Omicron, but yeah, it's called Omicron and Nomad Soul, which I've heard mixed things about, which is actually on PC. That's the only game that I haven't either played or like know a lot about, so I'll have to look into that. But like pretty much in all David Cage games that I've played or know about, there's at least one or two moments where I'm like, that's genuinely good, or that's a really interesting concept. But ultimately, I feel a lot of it doesn't go anywhere. It's really kind of disappointing, you know? I think that's what frustrates me about David Cage the most, where I think he has good ideas, but like it doesn't really pan out to be anything really worthwhile.
So in other words, you don't like David Cage games because he sets you up for something and then subverts your expectations.
No, not because of that. It's because why does it's like there's a certain law on the internet where if you talk long enough, you'll eventually talk about Nazis and stuff. We should change that rule to Godwin's law. We should change Godwin's law to like if you talk long enough in a podcast or on the internet, it'll eventually turn into a review of The Last Jedi.
It hasn't been around that long yet. I mean, it's been around long enough to be an incredibly hated movie, but not long enough to be talked about all the time.
I am curious to see, like, it probably won't age well, but I mean, I'm curious to see, like, what people will think, like, 10 years from now about it. Or, like, 20 years.
Movie, probably.
Probably, yeah, but, like, never know. The reason why I say that is because, like, there's some movies that, like, were hated, like, when they were first come out, but are loved nowadays. Like, The Sing, the remake, John Carpenter's Sing, was actually really hated by a lot of people, by both critics and like general sci-fi fans when it first came out. But nowadays, it's like a cult classic. It's like now, if you say anything beyond it's amazing, like you'll be hanged from a cross. Anyway, to respond to you, no, I don't hate David Cage because he subverts my expectations. I hate him because it's like he promises something and like he goes through with it, but he goes through with it in a schlocky, not so good way.
Yeah, subverts your expectations, in other words.
No, well, like if anything, I would say David Cage sticks strictly to my expectations a lot of the times, because a lot of the times he feels like he's just trying to be a pseudo movie maker schlock. Like Ryan, like subverting your expectations would be, like expecting one thing but doing something completely different. Where with David Cage is he did do the thing I thought was gonna happen, but it was just really bad, which I guess you could say for The Last Jedi. Now, say if they're talking about The Last Jedi, I'll have to one day see Rian Johnson's other two films that he's done. Oh, you know what? No, here's something I've been wanting to tell you for a while. Remember when we were first talking about The Last Jedi and debating about it, and you brought up Breaking Bad?
Yeah. Damn
it. You'll never believe this. Guess what? Rian Johnson actually directed a couple episodes of Breaking Bad. Isn't that funny?
I don't think it's funny, no.
Why not? Why not? Like, out of curiosity, have you seen Rian Johnson's other 2 movies?
No.
I heard.
I mean,
heard
they
like,
pretty much spoiled it for me now.
what?
Last Jedi's kind of soured me on him.
Well, that's what I'm trying to wonder about, because it's like everyone hated M. Night Shyamalan. Well, to be fair, everyone still hates M. Night Shyamalan, but like, because his last 2 movies, some people are starting to warm up to him again. So
He's starting to get better.
So it's like here's the thing: just because like someone made something bad recently doesn't mean they couldn't have made something bad in the past. I mean, just because they made something bad recently doesn't mean they couldn't have made something good in the past.
Yeah, The Last Jedi was The Last Jedi, though.
Fair enough. So I find it interesting, like how how every time a Star Wars film comes out, like it's like, never mind. I'm not talking about Star Wars. Why did you do this, Dolphin? Why do you always get me talking about The Last Jedi?
Because I hated it, you didn't, so that's why.
It's because you want to put me in awkward situations. You want me to defend its bullshit, don't you?
Exactly, Pinky.
Okay. In that case, Rian Johnson did nothing wrong. There, I defended it.
Okay.
In all seriousness, though, there's only one thing I want to say about Last Jedi that I don't get. A lot of people are talking about how they were angry that they killed off Admiral Akbar. The only thing Admiral Akbar ever was a meme. I don't understand how anyone had any sort of emotional attachment to him or were disappointed when he was killed off. Like, literally, my reaction was when he was killed off was like, oh, okay. Anyway,
It's who they replaced him with, I think people were more pissed at.
I guess, fair enough.
And the fact they brought him in just to kill him off, like, seriously,
fair enough.
That's why.
But it's like, literally all Admiral Akbar ever was in terms of the plot, literally, and like I'm legitimately believe this, and you can debate me on this, but all Admiral Akbar ever was, and whether it be in the new movies or the old, me, the only thing anyone ever remembers about him was the fact that he said it's a trap. Literally, no one knows anything about his personality or his character or whatnot. That's literally the only thing they remember about him. I mean, can you remember anything about him? I mean, unless there was some extended material that he was in, maybe I could understand.
All the anime memes, that'd be one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also Legend of Zelda memes where it's a trap now.
Really?
Which I guess would be because the whole Gerudo outfit thing.
I saw someone, sort of. There's one dungeon where, in Breath of the Wild where you climb a really long ladder, and someone took that, but like played the Snake Eater theme over it.
The Snake Eater theme.
If you don't get it, there's a part in Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater where you climb over a really long ladder and the theme plays and stuff. It's like a big iconic part of the game. Also, for the record, like, I don't love The Last Jedi. I don't think it's like a masterpiece and stuff. I just sort of enjoy it as like a fun, I don't know, sort of movie and stuff. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too nice to it, but it's like maybe I'm just in denial. Maybe I just can't accept that Star Wars is really bad now. Maybe my mind
You'll
can't
get out
accept
of it eventually. Don't worry. You'll get out of denial eventually. Don't worry.
But either way, though, I still think there. But I will say this though: no matter what, I still maintain that I don't think it's a 1 out of 10 movie. There's still some elements to it that I think are kind of impressive, at least in terms of like special effect wise. But like, nobody cares about that. Everyone cares about the story and stuff, myself included. So,
how dare we?
I'm not blaming people. Anyway, how about we move on from this awkwardness and talk about the fact that Valve is making games again?
Oh yeah, Valve was making games. We almost didn't get to that, did we?
Yeah.
Well, it's a rumor, apparently, that Valve could be making games again.
Yeah. What do you think, Dolphin? Do you think that's likely to happen? Do you think these are just baseless rumors, or like because
I'll believe it when I see it. I'll just say that one.
Yeah, I do agree. Like, I think Valve are definitely making some VR games and whatnot, and they're obviously making the Dota card game. Which does anyone care about the Dota card game? Do you know if anyone's like really excited for it? Is there anyone? Yeah, I'm just wondering, just because like when it was initially revealed, I remember it getting a lot of boos, or not boos, just like a big long like if you go to the initial reveal crowd, you can see like a bunch of people in the crowd, like, can easily hear them saying "ah," like they're really disappointed. Anyway, like, I do agree. I kind of have my doubts about it, but it would be cool if Valve made games again, because they used to make games and they were pretty cool. And then Steam got successful, and they decided, like, well, we're not gonna make games anymore. We're just gonna roll in our money pits or money baths.
Once you get to that kind of success, you probably don't want to. No more risks. I mean, no more having to one-up yourself. I mean, it's
and only rewards, right? It's like I can't help. It's funny. It's like every time I think I describe Valve, what happened to like why Valve doesn't make games anymore, I can't help but think of the image of Gabe Newell or some other people at the company just swimming in like baths of money that they got from Steam. Do you ever have that image?
I don't like thinking of Gabe Newell naked, so no, I don't.
Well, I don't think Gabe Newell naked. I think of him fully clothed, and I just
bathing in money. You bring up the whole Scrooge McDuck thing, so I think
the image goes where I see Gabe Newell fully clothed, and him just having like one of those mini pools, like one of those kiddie pools, just loaded with money, and just jumping in it and rolling around. Anyway, well, so like maybe since Valve is making games again, maybe make Half-Life 3, but I really don't believe that'll happen.
Yeah, don't hold your breath on that one.
Also, I mentioned this to you off screen, but for those who don't know,
I mean, that's like saying Valve is now making games again in the third month of the year. Half-Life 3 is confirmed. Yeah, don't do it.
It's like, guys, it's like, let it go. Like, I let go any hope of there being a Half-Life 3 years ago, and I think it's been healthier for me ever since. It's just, I was kind of annoyed that like it's just. Here's a question: do you think Valve owes it to the fan base to release Half-Life 3? Do you think like they owe it to them, or do you think like they don't owe them anything?
The fans should just give up on Half-Life 3, really, I think. Oh.
Yeah. What I think is that I don't think from a consumer and like business perspective, they don't owe them anything beyond like some like whatever they offer and whatnot. But it's like at the same time, I can't help but admit it's kind of frustrating that it's been all this years and they haven't. And the closest we've come to a Half-Life 3 is a leaked script from Mark Laidlaw. Thinking of which, there's probably some time now, but next time we'll probably talk about what we would have done if Valve ever asked us to do a Half-Life 3, so that'll be fun. Is there anything else I want to talk about, or should we end for the session?
Yes, and should we end here?
I think this is a pretty good place to end here. So I'm PoppaG, and Ryan Johnson did absolutely nothing wrong. He is the savior of Star Wars, and
actually, before we finish, there was one thing I want to discuss. Any good Nintendo Switch games you can play?
I've been playing a lot of Sonic Mania and Bayonetta recently, particularly Bayonetta. Really been enjoying it, and I also really have been enjoying Sonic Mania. I wouldn't really consider myself a Sonic fan or anything, but like I really enjoy it. And like Bayonetta, like is like for Bayonetta, it's like really awesome and stuff, and like I don't get often turned on by video game characters, but I'm not ashamed to admit that Bayonetta is pretty sexy. and I just realized how embarrassing that sounds when I say it out loud. But then again,
you can say
like
it, we don't mind.
Then again, probably everyone's in love with Bayonetta, so whatever. Oh yeah, speaking of Bayonetta, I told you this. I wanted to tell the audience this. The director of Bayonetta and other games, Hideki Kamiya, actually blocked Playtech TV on Twitter. I think, and this is kind of mean to me, but I couldn't help but smile when I heard that news. I'm probably a bit of an asshole, but like just the idea of JTech TV getting blocked by someone else is just kind of funny to me.
Yeah, for those who don't know, he blocks everybody.
That is
he's
true.
blocked me on Twitter.
He blocked you on Twitter?
Yeah, I've never even talked to him on Twitter before. Just made videos instead that he's commented on. And I've not removed those comments, by the way, Jay, in case you're watching. I'm sure you've removed mine, though.
I wonder why he blocks you, because I can understand why he blocks a lot of people, because he probably gets a lot of spam or stupid messages, but, Either way, do you have, are you bitter about him blocking you, or do you, not really care?
I was confused at why he did it, but I'm not exactly bitter.
Well, speaking of being blocked, I was also blocked by someone. I was blocked by I told you this, but I'm telling the audience, I was blocked by Top Hats and Champagne from commenting on his YouTube channel. I don't even remember entirely what I said, but I jokingly, said something about anime, or him not liking anime, and he blocked me, which is kind of sad, because beforehand we actually had an interesting conversation about video games and whatnot that are now gone because I've been removed. I kind of find Top Hat's Champagne's no anime rule kind of funny because he's so obsessed with it.
If you want to see it that way.
Anyway,
So, I was going to ask, well, is there any anime you'd recommend? I think we were going to discuss that.
Oh, yeah. I was going to save most of what I had to say for next time, but,
Okay.
So, is that alright?
Yeah, save for next time.
So, until next time, I'm PoppaG, and Ryan Johnson did nothing wrong.
I'm DolphinVi, and next week, Pinky will do the same thing we do every week, try to take over the world.
Yes. Bye.
Goodbye.